Hello guys, and welcome back to another tutorial. So in today's video we're going to learn how to make this beautiful dress with gathers at the side. If that sounds like something you're interested in learning, keep on watching and let us get right into it. So guys, to start off, as you can see, I already went ahead to draft the basic lines and the shoulder areas as well as the armhole area, as you can see. Now I'm just going to go ahead now to start adding in my body measurements. This is the bust point line, the under bust, the waistline, as well as the hip line. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start imputing our body measurements divided by 4. So I'm going to go ahead now to mark the bust point, the bust round measurement divided by 4. Then I'm going to mark the waistline and the hip line as well. And then afterwards, we want to go ahead to rule the lines to meet each other. Next, on the bust point line, you want to go ahead to mark our nipple to nipple measurements divided by 2. And I'm going to mark 3 inches at that point there. And then we want to go ahead to mark the difference between our shoulder to waistline for the front and the shoulder to waist measurement for the back. So when you subtract the front from the back, what you have is the difference. For me, that was 1 inch. Now I'm going to rule that to meet the line we marked out earlier for our nipple to nipple. So this is going to be our side dart for the dress. I'm going to cancel this out so you know that is the dart we're working with. Now on our waistline area, we're going to come down from that point by 1 inch. So I'm marking 1 inch at that point. And then we're going to mark on this point here, we're going to mark our nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. So I've gone ahead to mark that out. Now I want to curve that 1 inch we came down by on our waist area down to the other line we made on the hip line area. So this is what we have. Now we want to go ahead now to create our neckline area. I've already went ahead to mark out the width. Now we're going to mark the depth, and for the depth I'm working with 7 inches if I'm not mistaken. Now we're just going to rule that to meet with the one at the top, as you can see me doing right now. So I was just trying to curve it out because I didn't want the point at that bottom part to be too sharp since it's a V-shaped neckline. So I basically went ahead to just curve out the neckline to create the shape that I want. Next, on the shoulder area, we're going to mark 1.5 inch because this is going to be a backless dress. We're going to tie it at the neck area. So I'm marking 1.5 inch and I'm just going to curve this all the way down to create sort of like a halter neck effect at that point. So this is what we have at the top part. So like I earlier stated, there's going to be a rope at that area. We're going to extend it so we can so we'll be able to tie this at the neck area. So before that, we want to work on the bottom part. So guys, for the bottom part, we are going to mark our hip measurements divided by 4 the way we did for the hip line area. But the only difference now is when you add your hip measurement divided by 4, you want to go ahead to add 1.5 or 2 inches extra. So we create that shape we want at that point. This is totally optional. You can just go ahead to straighten it all the way down from your hip line area. But I'm just doing this for an extra step. So after doing that, I'm just extending the lines from my hip line area down to that point we marked out. We're still going to have slash and spread at that point, but I just like the shape it gives at that bottom part, and that is why I added 1.5 inch. Next, we're going to take what we have at this hip line area down to the bottom. So I'm going to continue marking 3 inches all the way down and then rule a straight line at that point. So this is what we have. Now we want to go ahead to extend the line at the shoulder area. Now to extend the lines, you can see that I went ahead to add pattern paper to the top part to extend that point there. So we're going to have the strap attached to the dress. So now to do this, I'm going to bring in my tape and I'm going to mark 10 inches from that my shoulder area all the way up in a slanted motion. You can see the way I'm placing my tape. I'm following the shape we have at that neckline area. So I went ahead to mark 11 inches just to make it a bit longer. And then after marking 11 inches, we want to go ahead to roll this all the way up to create the extension. So guys, this is what we have. We're going to go ahead to draft the back pattern before going ahead to cut out everything. So guys, for the back, I have my lines ruled out the same way we did for the front. So we're going to start off by adding in our body measurements divided by 4. So I'm marking my bust measurement divided by 4, and then the waist measurement divided by 4, followed by our hip measurement divided by 4. So after marking that out, you want to go ahead to rule a line. Next, on this point here, I'm going to go in by half of an inch to eliminate bulging at the back at the zipper area, and then we're just going to roll this back into our bodies. Now on the waistline area, we're coming down by 1 inch the way we did for the front, and then we're going to mark 3 inches here, and then we're just going to curve this to meet each other the way we did for the front. Now I want to go ahead to curve out the opening for the back because like I said, this is a backless dress. So from that point there at the armhole area, I'm just going to curve this slightly back into our bust point line because I do not want the back to be too open. So at that bust point area is okay with me. So I just created that curve there. Yours can be different depending on what you're trying to achieve. Now we're going to go ahead to extend the lines at the bottom the way we did for the front. So this is basically what we have for the back piece. I'm going to go ahead now to cut this out. So on the dark line area here, I'm just going to slit it open so I can close up the dart and retrace the sides, because when you close your dart, your measurement at that area is slightly incorrect. So I'm just basically going to close up that dart at that point and then retrace it so we have the accurate measurement we need at the side. So guys, we're going ahead to cut this out, and as you can see, I have 1 inch seam allowance at the sides and then ½ inch at the other areas, and I'm just going to go ahead to cut this out. So for the back piece, I have 1 inch seam allowance at the side and then ½ inch at the top and the bottom, and I also have 1 inch at the zipper area for our zipper allowance. So for the one at the side we cut out, we want to go ahead to slash this. So I'm just rolling out straight lines in no particular order, and then after rolling out the line, we will go ahead to cut it out. After slashing this, I'm going to go ahead to number them so we know which piece sits where, and then we're going to go ahead now to cut it out. So guys, after cutting this out, we went ahead to place it down on our fabric following the numbering we had on the pattern, and I just arranged it and spaced it out to about 3 inches. So we have them 3 inches away from each other so we can have a lot of fabric to work with when creating the gathers. That is why we have it like this. So now I want to go ahead to just use my chalk to curve this out a bit to my desired shape at the top, following the shape we also have at the pattern, and then we're going to go ahead to cut this out. So we're going to cut out 4 pieces of this, each for each sides of the dress. So we're going to have 4 in total. After cutting this out, on this point here, we're going to mark on the hip line area, we're going to create a notch just so we know where the gathers is going to stop. And I'm just going to go ahead now to create a notch at that area. So with that, we've come to the end of the drafting part of this tutorial. You want to stay tuned for the sewing part where I showed you how to sew this dress. If you enjoyed watching this video and you found it helpful, do not forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not yet subscribed already, and I will see you guys on the next one.